me the name of the police department and describe the details of what happened during your incident that gave you grounds for a complaint.
Okay, the police department is Virginia Beach Police Department, located at 840 Council Road in that precinct in the city of Virginia Beach. Princess Anne Road was the place supposedly of arrest. I had received a phone call from my daughter close to 11 o'clock and telling me that the blood clot she had in her lower leg had moved up to her growing area in a matter of a few minutes. And she called the doctor and he said, get to the emergency room. And I think we all know that a blood clot is nothing to play with. It goes to your heart, your brain, or your lung, it'll kill you. And so what I decided to do, I did call my police department in Chesapeake and explained to them, and they said that as long as I have my flashers on, and as long as I'm not, flying excessively or something, they're not gonna bother me. So I did stop at red lights, and then I continued on with my flashers, and like in a 45 mile an hour zone, I might be going 50, and a 35, I might be going like 45. And so I come up beside a radar car at the intersection of Kinsville and Princess Anne. And he was on my left side. It was a double turn lane. And I thought about pulling up beside him, right beside him, because I was on his right side, and rolled my window down and asked him if he could escort me to the hospital. But I just felt like, well, maybe that's not the best thing to do. He probably wouldn't escort me. Of course, he wouldn't anyway. So anyway, I went ahead and made my turn, and then I was in the right-hand lane, come past the St. Mark's Episcopal Church on the left, and then he made a U-turn and went back towards Kinsville Road. I continued on up. I was going 45 with my flashers on. The speed limit was 35. And so I turned around, and the light turned green, turned red in front of the Burger King on the right. So I turned around, and I just stopped at that red light. My flashers, I was sitting still. The light was still red, and when the light turned green, I saw this vehicle with the bright lights just flying excessively to come up to the rear of my car, and about less than half a city block, they put their lights on, and so I didn't move, even though the light was green. And so then I sat there and I rolled my window down, and the officers asked me real sternly and real rude, asked me what I think I was doing and everything. And I explained my situation to him that, officer, I have a life and death situation here. However, I do have a prepaid legal shield on the window of the car. I even have my clergy sticker on the rear of the car up high enough on the trunk lid where it's visible. And so anyway, and he just started ordering me in a very rude manner to pull in that driveway into the Arrowhead Shopping Center. So I pulled him on up in there, and so then I was sitting there, and he come to the car, and told me, said, you don't have a right to put your flashers on, only emergency vehicles, and no, you don't have a right to speak, even whether it's a life and death situation. And so then turn around, he takes my information, goes back to his car. Well, I put my head down on the steering wheel because I was like frustrated. God, this is my daughter. If it was his daughter, he would do the same thing that I'm doing, spend the last few minutes if this is what's her life. So it turns around, I decided, in my frustration, I got out of my car, and I turned around, and I got out, held my hands up in the air, like, so to speak, I'm under arrest or something, and I started to walk towards his car. Before I got about 15 feet from his car, he sees me, jumps out of his car, comes and had his fist balled up. Then he started to take and flagging his finger towards me and running towards me. You better get in that car and sit down. You get in that car and sit down now. And so finally, and one thing with me, of course I did, I obeyed what he said. And normally what I do a lot of times son is just me, and he goes in somewhere while I'm waiting for him in the car. A lot of times, especially typical weather, I'll just leave my car door open with the engine off, and I'll have my left foot sitting on the pavement. And that's just the normal habit I have. So he got in the car, and then he happened to look up and see my foot was sitting on the pavement, and my car door is partially not even 3/4 the way open, like quarter of the way. So he gets out and comes running towards me again, shaking his fist and wagging his finger, screaming and hollering and yelling at me, "You better get in that car, get that foot in that door, and shut that door." And so then turned around. So finally he come back to the car, and he took and gave me a ticket. In the meantime, before he come back to the car to give me a ticket, I called 911, and it went to Norfolk. Well, I told the lady I was having a problem with an officer here at this location. She said, "Well, sir, you have Norfolk." She said, "I'll transfer you to Virginia Beach." Well, she transferred me to the precinct on 840 Council Road to a Mr. Sergeant Phelps. And he was so to speak, acting as the head guy that night. And I told him what this officer was doing to me and his way he was treating me. And he said, "Well, sir, there's nothing I can do about it." He said, "Because I can't really come to you." And, of course, from what I understand, he was at the station, and that wasn't very far from where we were at. So finally I said, okay, and I hung up, and I guess he might have heard me on the radio in his car. And so I turned around, and he came out and gave me the ticket. And so then I took and I left, and I went ahead and got to the hospital. And thank God my daughter was okay. So the next day, I called and spoke to, I can't what his name is, in professional standards. And I explained the situation to him. And I told him, I said, this really makes me paranoid now, because I drive through the city about 2 days a week down this particular road. And because I do benevolence thing, I pick up food items and disperse them into a network that I have. So I turned around and I said, well, I have got a tape recorder now in my glove compartment with your name and your number on it, professional standards. And I said, if I need it, I said, hold it and set it up on my dashboard to record a conversation with an officer if he should stop me for some reason. That way I've got proof of what he does, and he better not dare as much stick his hand inside my car to retrieve my property when it's nothing to harm him. And so what I did, they seemed to think that it was all right. Well, I turned around and I called prepaid legals. They gave me an attorney, and I turned around, and so we went to court the first time. So I turned around and continued the thing because the judge wanted to fine me. So I appealed it, and I wasn't going to put up with it. So I turned around and appealed it, and it was in February of 2008. The attorney went with me. The attorney in a side room asked me to address the issue and speak directly to him, how it happened, what happened, and what transpired. I did. He said, now, I'm going to want you to ask the officer, apologize to the officer in the courtroom in front of the judge and the officer. And I was very appalled by him asking me to do that. Now, the case that was ahead of me, it resulted in someone, I believe, that was near death, or they died from negligent accident and everything at an intersection and everything. Careless young people. And the judge kind of like just gave him a slap on the wrist. When it come to me, he didn't want to hear it, and he was asking me, and I said, well, Your Honor, I said, I'm not trying to be disrespectful here, but I have to explain the way that it happened. And of course, the attorney asked me to start explaining, and of course, the judge eventually cut me off. And so the judge still fined me $140. Up until this point, for 11 years, I had a clean driving record. And but anyway, that's basically, what happened. And since then, in May of 2008, I went before the city council. There was a guy by the name of Jim Spoor that was up at the front with the city council, and he was supposed to be something with the police department. And so I brought to them the fact